Remington portable to write up a number of medical reports. He dipped it in some oil he found dripping from the belly of a wounded generator hidden behind the hospital, which was, not so long ago, a Buddhist temple. And lo, by nightfall, it was set for another 10 or 15 pages. It has since become part of his morning ritual. The reason I mention this so early on is that whatever it is that he puts into this customized ink of his reminds me of a perfume I once purchased for your mother in Madrid before the war in China came to take me away. A whiff of lavender and mint that is my own Proustian delight. As I work, these keys release small shock waves of that perfume into the air, making this letter, for brief periods at least, an almost pleasant walk down memory lane. I imagine these additives, whatever they are meant only to suppress the oil's natural foul composition, and perhaps to deepen the color of the imprint of these letters. It works surprisingly well, I must say. Every morning I find the Remington stripped of its ribbon, and every morning Ho comes to me with my breakfast of millet or steamed rice and tea, his hands stained the same color as these pages. I do not have much idle time here, but what little there is, I spend trying to make some sense of the fates that have shaped me into the man I am. I'll admit to finding this quite a task. I often think about your mother, and see now that she was not so unlike my own mother, how they shared a common desire to improve the world they lived in. I also think about who you will be when you finally read this. I like to imagine the glow of understanding that will light up your face as you move deeper into the history of your father's people and your own miraculous beginning. And I like to imagine that I will soon be home to see you, that peace will descend upon us, that there will be no need for these writings other than to help recall the vicious events that took place before this war made things right. My first memory is of my mother stepping out of a baker's shop, me in one arm, a bag of cinnamon buns in the other. I was 4 years old. It was looking to be a fine day, as I had earned one of those buns for my good behavior that morning. I was stuffing it into my mouth, nestled there in the cradle of my mother's arm, when she suddenly turned on her heel and swung her shopping bag at a man who was entering the shop just as we were leaving. The man fell. He must have been old, certainly caught unawares, and as my mother stood over him, I munched away happily, thinking this was some sort of pantomime enacted for my amusement. The baker came out from behind his counter and stepped into the game. His apron was white. He was a large man and wore a pleated hat. I remember thinking that it looked like a mushroom. "More," I said, and the baker with the mushroom hat raised the man by the collar and threw him out the door. This early memory, though I include it here, is not typical of your grandmother, for she was, in faith and in deed, a woman devoted to the Lord and to the improvement of His world. She was a warm and loving mother, gentle as a lamb, but a fighter, too, who wouldn't turn the other cheek when confronted by the ugliness of disrespectful men. It was your grandmother who taught me and my brother and sister that things could be made better by virtue of regular Bible study and a calm spiritual persistence, and that our highest calling was to commit ourselves to the betterment of our small corner of the world. This was a first lesson in life, and one I carry with me to this day, graying sinner that I am. She instilled within me the impulse to make the most of what I had been given. We are all given talents, she would say, each of us to our own abilities. Every Sunday in the parlor, she told us one of Jesus' parables. I remember my mother's soft hand on my head as she read through Matthew. The parable of the talents has stayed with me. You might know it. One man hoards his gifts, while others bring them out into the world to gain strength and knowledge. Her hand lifted from my head and gently touched the open Bible. "And what does this mean?" she asked softly. "That it is God's will for us to make the most of what we're given," I said. "Yes, and that what you're given belongs not to you, Norman, but to the Lord, who has favored us all with a special gift, each of us in our own way. You are now the keeper of these talents, Norman, and you have many of them."